I want to take just a moment to recognize and ask each of you to keep in mind really a hard-working group of men and women who, as we speak, are battling substantial fires across our state. They're placing themselves in harm's way to save property and lives. And our state's really blessed to have brave men and women, individuals who never hesitate to run toward dangers that others are fleeing, and saving the lives of fellow Texans who have been at great peril. I really appreciate those men and women of the fire service, of volunteer fire departments all across the state. This latest crisis is no exception to their selfless service. And again, our hopes, our prayers go out to them, and as well as the people who have been drastically touched by these fires, who have lost beautiful homes and livestock, livelihoods. So keep them in your prayers today. John, again, to you and to this historic group, thank you for inviting me to speak today. I think it's been 7 years since the last time that I had the opportunity to come and share with you all. And over that 7-year period of time, we've had some interesting challenges as a state. We've had some that were pretty large and some minor ones that we managed. But, here in Texas, our impression of the past decade might be a bit different from views that you'll get elsewhere. We in the Lone Star State certainly weren't immune to the effects of the global recession, but we weathered it much better than most other states, and we continue to lead a national recovery, and that's because we stayed focused on common sense, conservative policies. While many states were clamoring for help, they were also raising taxes, we stayed the course. We held the line on tax increases. We streamlined government and created a job-friendly environment in this state that drew employers from all across this country, even from around the globe. As a result, more jobs, as Brooke shared with you, were created in Texas than any other state in the nation through the first decade of the 21st century. And we did that again in the year of 2010. As a result, CNBC ranked us as the best economic climate in the nation. Just last month, Site Selection magazine chose Texas as the 2010 Governor's Cup recipient for having the most new and expanded corporate facilities in the country. This Thursday, we're expecting a contingent of legislators from California to come to Texas. They are on a quest. They are on a quest to figure out how we did it. And it kind of sounds like a set-up punchline, but it's really true. They're gonna come to Austin, sit down, and talk about how we managed the state over the last decade. I'm excited as I can be to sit down with them and just share with them that there is great beauty in the system that our founding fathers devised when they ratified the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, ensuring states the freedom to do things their own way, the flexibility to meet their challenges in whatever fashion worked best for them. Over the years, the American system has done its job exceptionally well, each state working as its own laboratory, an individual engine of innovation and discovery. They were finding innovative solutions to their challenges. They were motivating other states to remain competitive by coming up with their own versions. And maybe the California delegation will learn things on their visit that they can take back to the Golden State to get their economy back in gear. And the fact is, nothing would make me happier. As much as I have chided California over the course of the last decade, I do it with a bit of tongue-in-cheek, but I also do it to challenge them to not be the butt of jokes, not be a state that people point to and say, you know, if you want to live in a state that has high taxes, onerous regulations, medical marijuana, well, move to California. Yeah, that's a punchline. But the fact is, we do not want that state to fail. We want California to be a powerful economy. They're 20% of our national economy. We cannot afford for them to fail. We want them to come up with new ways to improve their economy, partly to be a healthy competitor to the state of Texas and the 48 other states. Competition works. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a businessman or woman, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a state. Competition will make you sharper. It will help you accomplish more, dream bigger. And when we compete against each other, when everybody wins. Unfortunately, not everyone views competition as a positive. Over the years and decades, Washington has extended its reach bit by bit until the sound concepts of the 10th Amendment were blurred. I will suggest almost lost. The idea of states' rights has become increasingly disregarded. I've been fairly vocal about it. That's kind of like saying that Jerry Jones is pretty vocal about the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I love Texas, and I love our country, and that Constitution that was written. I'm vocal because this is, I think, one of the most vital issues of the day. A federal encroachment that's placed the very idea of competition between states at risk in favor of this one-size-fits-all approach that really doesn't fit anyone. Whether we're talking about air quality, education, health care, the damage we face at the hands of Washington's unrestrained takeover is catastrophic. The skyrocketing price tag of Medicaid is just one example, John. And that's not even mentioning the upcoming balloon payment that's associated with Washington's overreaching health care plan. The costs are staggering, just to the state of Texas. If this piece of legislation is left in place the way that it is written, between 2014, when it's fully implemented, and 2024, the cost to the state of Texas will be an additional $27 billion, $2.7 more every year. Those same taxpayers will also be on the hook for personal imposed mandates by the federal government, mandates that clearly overstep federal bounds. Now, I will tell you, I'm very encouraged by Representative Paul Ryan's recent efforts to deliver Medicaid funds in the form of block grants. I think that is very thoughtful. It also would give the states the much-needed flexibility to administer health care. I've got great faith that we could do it better than the federal government. For the most part, however, all Washington has managed to do is muddy the waters around its own failed policies by passing the cost along to the states, just as you and I were talking about. Washington has even attempted to bribe us with our own money. I thought that one was really the height of hypocrisy. Here in Texas, we resisted that lure by telling them no thanks when it came to dangling a few millions of dollars in front of us and saying, if you'll take this money for education, then the national test will have those written that you can look at a little in the future. And by the way, if you take that money, the national standards, which are yet to be written, will send them to you post haste. The more functions Washington take over, the more we lose that spirit of competition, the culture of innovation that encourages companies to take a risk on a new approach, an emerging technology that's being corroded. Just last week I was in Dallas for the announcement of RGA's plan to expand electric cars, these electric car charging stations all through the Metroplex. And listen, that's a bold step. But RGA is not taking that bold step here in Texas because state government mandates. They're not doing it because we have hyper regulation. They're taking that step in Texas because freedom feeds innovation, and we work hard to foster an environment that frees the private sector to do what the private sector does best, to solve problems, meet challenges, create jobs that in turn creates wealth. We keep our regulatory structure fair and predictable so entrepreneurs can focus on those cutting-edge products, not cutting red tape. We work hard to create a favorable climate. Then get out of the way, government, and let the private sector do what the private sector does best. Mr. Baggett, what our California friends will hear will be rather simple. You do not have to be a PhD in political science from Harvard to understand the simple principles of governing. They're going to hear that their state can be a golden state again. They're going to hear that that's what can happen when a state is freed from the micromanagement of Washington, D.C. Left to their own devices, any one of our 50 states is likely to stumble upon a solution to a widespread problem that's significantly cheaper, more effective than anything Washington can cook up. But with 50 states walking in lockstep, it's a safe bet that nobody's going to get far in solving any of those problems. Their approach doesn't seem to be about solving problems, though, when you really think about it. It's all about control. Washington wants people to follow their standards or pay the price. We're willing to take our chances because the fact is our system works. You look at the last decade in the state of Texas, and it is hard to argue that what we have put into place doesn't work. John, if you want a great example of the difference between Washington, D.C. and the way we do things in the state of Texas, you have to look no farther than our clean air permitting process. A process, interestingly, that was put into place in 1993 by Governor Ann Richards as she worked with the Texas environmental agencies and communities and came up with that flexible air permitting process that allowed Texas to not only clean its air up more than any other state in the nation during the decade of the 2000s. We had a 27% reduction of ozone between 2000 and 2009, better than any other state. We cut nitrous oxide levels in that same time period by 58%. And of course, by the way, those are real pollutants versus CO2. And I might add, that was developed by Ann Richards and approved by the Clinton administration. And for 17 years, this process has been in place, working in the state of Texas. We cleaned up our air, and you already know the rest of that story. We created more jobs than any other state in the nation. You would think we would be held up as an example of, here's how you should do it. Try to be more like Texas. But not this administration. This administration placed a target on Texans' back. It continues to try and outlaw this sensible, successful program, endangering thousands of jobs in this state. In Washington's view, our program has one major flaw. It wasn't their idea. Even EPA's regional director, Al Armendariz, couldn't say that Texas's air would be cleaner if we had changed to a federal model 17 years ago. I guess the paperwork would be easier, though. And that is why our capable Attorney General Greg Abbott has taken the lead on the ongoing challenges against the EPA in our fight as well against Obamacare. This isn't a turf war. It's about a way of doing things better. It's a way of proving that local people solve local problems better than people thousands of miles away. It's a way of keeping alive the ingenuity and the spirit that has made America the greatest country this world has ever seen. Maybe if Washington were having more success, this conversation would be a little less urgent. But even with the recent efforts in the House to curb federal spending, Washington simply spends way too much money and has way too little to show for it. And I'm sure you heard President Obama just this week insisted that we must raise the debt limit once again. That's a sad commentary, Arch, on the future of our children, or for that matter, your children's children. So here in Texas, we're going to continue to fight for a better way. We're going to continue to fight for that way that was guaranteed by the 10th Amendment. We will keep up this fight until once and for all, Washington understands the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Simply put, the federal government was created by the states to be an agent for the state, not the other way around. God bless you, and thank you all for letting me come.